a circular economy space in Uganda. She consults regularly for civil society and international grant-making organizations alongside grassroots community projects. She supports the WEAll East Africa Hub, where she works with grassroots movements to be key drivers for a well-being economy. She specializes in innovation, research, evaluation, education, food independence, women-centered programs, and movement building. Joram Ojungo is a people person, social worker, and specializes in climate smart agriculture, agroforestry, regenerative farming, and nutrition. With a major in entrepreneurship, Joram enjoys bringing life-changing tips for farmers, especially the youth and women. He is an innovative and self-motivated person, having co-founded Initiative for Environmental Conservation and Agricultural Sustainability, and working with the smallholder farmers in Uganda. So we feel very fortunate that they're here today. And I'm going to pass on the mic to Suzan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everyone. It's really nice to see you all here. It just means so much to see people interested in this topic, because I don't know, the area of well-being and grassroots movements is just something that is just so it's like a magnet, right? It just catches you like a magnet, and somehow you just can't get away from it. But yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I welcome you all to this space. So excited to share with you what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm here with Joram. So Joram and I are going to be talking about what's going on here with the work that we're doing here. And also, because of my internet connection, it's a bit, it's rusty up and down. So I'm going to request, if you don't mind, I just stand up my video for a while I'm talking. I think also Joram will be doing that shortly when he's talking over turning off this video. And also, so that is easier also for me to just juggle through things, but like also Tobile will be helping me with screen sharing, because I do have some couple of presentations and slides for you and some pictures and some videos. So she's going to be helping me with screen sharing and doing all that stuff, because I'm not a very big tech person. So if you can see obviously sharing, I can do it. But yeah, so to start, then we can get started, and I'm going to turn off my video now. And I'm going to request you to screen share for me. Thank you. So yeah, so hello everyone to the WEAll East African Hub. We're all part of the hub today, and hopefully for the next coming months and years as well. So you can all be involved in one way or the other. But really, WEAll, the hub is all about really supporting grassroots movements across East Africa and beyond to be key drivers for our well-being economy. And why we're focusing on grassroots movements, it's because they are the ones that are directly and deeply grounded in their communities. And really, they're the ones that have the best solutions for whatever issues and problems or whatever context that they are facing. So we really can't exclude them if we're talking about, well-being, right? So this is what the East African Hub is about, really amplifying those voices and their work and everything that they're involved in, and just bring it up and making them really drive this forward. And so to the next slide, I really do want to share also a little bit about what the current collaborations are that we have been doing. And one of them is the Access for Food, which is social entrepreneurship support for food. And basically, it's just connecting really smallholder farmers. And why we're focusing on smallholder farmers is because actually smallholder farmers here in Uganda, and I can say this for the most of the African context, is that they are the ones that actually produce food for the local markets, but also for household consumption. And they reside in the most rural and poor communities as well. So we really can't ignore them. So really connecting these smallholder farmers and social entrepreneurs working on food security to available social entrepreneurship support. Because what we have noticed is that, and we do have a number of NGOs and local NGOs and companies and incubators who are already, offering these training activities, and they're providing this financial support, and they're providing networking opportunities for entrepreneurs and startups in this sector. But however, many young people aren't aware of this or lack the resources or capacity to even enter these pre-existing support systems, particularly in the rural areas. So this is where we're really focusing on in the rural areas. So we do have already an application where we do have a profile, profile these farmers and just really put them there and connect them to all these other support alliances as well. And it's like really strategic too. And so you can see in that picture there is really it's women who are learning how to make candles just to increase some household income in their various occasions. And then also the one that I did want to mention about is NVC, nonviolent communication. We do facilitate nonviolent communication sessions for social change leaders, and we have done this with African leaders from across the African region. But really, just like a brief background of what NVC is, it's really just a language of compassion, following Marshall Rosenberg's principles of observation, like observation without judgment, and also feeling without how do you really express your feelings without thoughts, and expressing needs without strategy, and making these requests without actually making demands. And also with what we have seen is that learning to practice NVC really entails learning to separate what you observe from personal value judgments on that particular observation. And this is a skill that you can't really master in one day. Like it's a continuous, just like, practicing, like, when you're practicing to dance, you do it continuously. And it also really involves, taking responsibility of your feelings. And this requires like a change in perspective of how others' words and actions affect our feelings, right? And in NVC, what others say and do is considered the stimulus, but never really the cause of this feeling. So these are some of the things that we talk about in our sessions with the African leaders. And because why we focus on this is because we in any kind of collaboration, there's communication is like the key. So if you do not know, or you do not even have an understanding, or you're not conscious about how you communicate and what you're saying and how it's perceived by the other person, then it really affects collaboration, and really just affects any kind of meaningful engagement as well, because NVC makes the connection between feelings and unmet needs in the individual. Right. So, just and also just to really speak a little bit more about that is that these needs are common and they are fundamental to all human, to all human beings. We all have needs and all have feelings, but like the outer expression of feelings such as anger and frustration are all seen as indicators of needs, such as love and acceptance that are really unfulfilled. So those are just some examples of what goes on in these sessions. But to go to the next slide, but what I really want to talk about today and why we're all here is to talk about the Transdisciplinary Living Lab for Smallholder Farmers, which is one of the projects we are doing, which we got also funding for in the process of that with the Wyss Academy. But really this project is basically just about boosting nutritional health and increasing food production, right? So, which is why we call it a living lab is because it evolves according to what the need of the community is, and we're a network. And right now we're a network of farmers in Lira, Uganda, who have come together to observe, listen, fail, learn, and just really pay attention to what we are experiencing and needing to enhance, right, wholeness and well-being. And really currently right now, there is obviously a need for food independence. There's a need to boost in nutrition, and there's a need to implement circular farming solutions, improve the health of the soil, because when COVID-19 hit, food production significantly reduced, and it really affected just how much people can eat in a day. So this is something that we thought, and it's something that the farmers, they themselves and the community themselves saw as a need, and it's something that we really wanted to also bring up and build onto. And so to go to the next slide, Yeah, so before I go much more further into that, I would really like you to introduce you to Joel, who is one of the farmers here in this video. So you can see that Joel is a smallholder farmer, and he does grow vegetables in his house next to his compound, but also sells for, you know, along the roadside for the community members to also be able to eat, but at a really reduced price as well. So you hear it's just a little brief video of him. Tobele, would you mind playing it? Thank you.
Temaja kunonya mukataleli tegeza bintu byebyo tubikolera wano waka kubituda kubirima kubiruda byetuluda tutudira wano wene waka wano
otutunira wali eri mu mukalika.
So we're going there, right?
Yeah, I think it's
in front.
Yeah.
In front of the thing. Oh, all right. The mass, eh?
So this is where you sell them, right?
Joti tuzileta wano tudira wano wakasitoma mabita wakatunduka no magulira wano tuzitora barara byona byona nachi musukumane tumatuguza zino ndi tumaguza nusu bitano tumasera ino tubira ku mwine mero na mali bitu bire fresh kusina kuja pata kadale magule zimasi wiki namba andi zimaleza uruna kasera matoke kona tutora waline tuleta wale tumagusa wano kona kali fresh tuwakumira wano
Right.
Zero peso.
Yeah.
Nyanya hizo tuleta tumagusa wano.
Thanks to Billy for playing that. So you see, Joel here, so you'll see that the food that he grows is actually what he sells for the people to also buy from him at a more reduced price. So yeah, I would like to invite Joram to really explain what the problem is and why we are really focusing on this at the moment. Joram, would you like to invite you?
Yes, thank you, everyone. My name is Joram Ojungo. I'm a social worker, as before mentioned by Anna. I'm going to take you through this slide from the problem that we have identified that is hindering our community from progressing. The problem is looked from an angle that our agricultural sector, where most of our people are employed, is still considered informal. And because of that, it's basically run by women and young people, because most of the men are given opportunity to work in other areas, but women are denied such chances. And because they have young people at home, they have the responsibility to engage them in farming. And most of these farmers are smallholder farmers. They do more subsistence agriculture, not commercial. So it's from this background that we realized that when COVID-19 struck, most of them went into problems, and these problems were hunger, which according to our findings, it is a state where people are unable to have food or afford food for their day-to-day running. And this to us has affected them mentally. And for such cases, it has led also to more vices in our community, because people have to now look for ways of getting food to eat, because being hungry was a big problem to them. We've also realized that it has affected education and health for our people, especially the youth who go to school, and thus leaving them dropouts without any knowledge at all on how they should live. Then we also realized that malnutrition had increased, especially among young people, children between 0 age up to 8 years, because of the low ratios of feeding that was being served to them, because sometimes most of them could eat 1 meal a day or go without a meal, expecting that maybe something could happen so that they could be able to have food to eat. So there was that element of malnutrition occurring. We also realized that mortality rates are beginning to increase because of starving. People in rural areas are really starving. They have to fend to look for what they could eat, but still it is not easy for them because they are just a small group, and the food they always plant, grow, and sell to the market. When it reaches the market, it becomes quite expensive for them to buy back due to their inability to have a sustainable income that could support them in such a situation. So we realized that these problems were being caused because of the effect of climate change. In our region, there has been a prolonged dry conditions, which in a way has affected crop productivity because the dry spell has been too long, and the crops which were on ground dried up all. A few that survived had everyone's eye on. They were all looking for ways to get this very food that was harvested. We also realized that this food is being lacked because of increasing pressure on land. We are having population explosion within the rural community. This is due to the fact that the fertility rate it's increasing, I think, because of the health services, which has improved a little bit. And the land also, most people are now trying to use land for settlement because of that population. So the agricultural land that initially was being used is now narrowing, and there's no much land to be exhausted and used properly for growing food. We've also realized that most of the farming methods or practices our farmers are using is basically subsistence farming, which reduces on their ability to produce enough and such that the surplus can be used or stored for food. But most of them produce just a little and they sell them to the market, and they are left with nothing to eat. And also there's a growing culture among them that today most of them are interested in growing cash crops, especially soybean and sunflower, which in turn gives them money, but they also lack financial discipline. So it becomes a little bit hard on their side to manage the finances they are getting from this. And also considering the seasons, there are changes in the seasons where the season can be quite short, yet the plants that they have in their gardens really take maybe 3 months or 4 months. But if the season cuts short, the plant, that becomes a problem to them. So the crop yields are really reducing. So there are also issues of low soil fertility. This same land has been tilled from our forefathers to date. We are still on the same land doing the same way of farming. There are no modern practices that are being adapted by our farmers. So this is also a big factor that makes us lose a lot of food, or when it's really us to find ways of doing that. There's also loss of tree cover. As somebody who understands a lot about how trees help in rain or formation of that ground canopy, and also its effects on rainfall pattern. most of our areas, because of the insurgency that happened years ago of Lord's Resistance Army, most of the trees were cut down because most people were in camps, and until to date, none has yet been restored to enable those issues be addressed. So it's basically based on those problems and those causes that a solution had to be devised, and it's how this project had to come about. Yeah, thank you. Joy, maybe you can take up on the next slide.
Thanks, Joram, for that very elaborate explanation on what the issues are. But also to mention, like, also because the smaller farmers are really also practicing extractive farming methods, just to maximize financial gain. So there's really an imbalanced relationship between, within nature and the soil, because 95% of the communities in Uganda till, dig land, burn everything that grows that is unwanted. So you can see how that really kills the topsoil. And also during the dry, so because we're also having longer dry seasons, so we're having more and more people manufacturing bricks, and it has become a lucrative business in the dry season, which really further damages the soil and harms the existing natural ecosystems. So, but our solutions really here, so on our next slide on solutions, what we are thinking is really to just build capacity and well-being and the health of the farmers. So by building capacity, I mean like really, I would say brainstorming with them, and also I would say exposing them to ways in which they can also maybe gain a source of income besides, for example, burning bricks and making stuff that really destroys soil. But really think of other ways in which they can also generate income to boost their to increase their household income. So you will see that also, for example, in the previous pictures, you will notice that we're having women learning how to make candles. And that's one of the ways, but also really also teaching them on certain things like, financing, and how do you, manage your savings, and how can you really also maximize the resources that you have in a way that is also non-extractive. So those are the areas in which we do that. But also we're thinking of also creating a natural medicines database on showcasing farmers' profiles. And by showcasing farmers' profiles, this is something that we'll do through the Cess for Food, Cess for Food project that we had mentioned earlier, but also with the natural medicine database, because as we had mentioned, that most of these farmers are struggling with diseases because of bad, poor nutrition, and they're not feeding well, so they get all kinds of diseases. And because of that, many don't really, can't afford modern medical services. So many of them are dying because of very, very, really, very small or very minimal, I would say, expressing illnesses that could have been treated if they had actually earlier treated it, but because they take a longer time to treat themselves, because they don't have the money to afford these medicines, it ends up getting chronic. So incorporating natural medicines in that to really prevent these illnesses and just really boost their nutrition as well, but also through peer learning and resource sharing, where we'll really connect these farmers with other, I'd say, mentors, or I don't like to use the word experts, but I guess people who have more experience in this natural medicinal plants, but also those who have experience in other more regenerative circular farming methods, just to improve the soil health and also really bring about sustainable food systems as well. So this, of course, would include doing on-site classes on these practices, where this would be done in the various farms, which most of these farms, of course, are owned by the farmers, but also finding also demonstration gardens that's more like a public, a community garden where they can do these things, practice these on-site classes. But also the third one is through the community cycles that will really follow the sociocratic governance system, where really farmers will devise their own accommodative and constructive participatory courses through which as a group they can really ensure their holistic development. And these individuals would really express themselves within these circles and action groups as well. So action groups would be formed according to what their needs are at that particular moment as a group within their circles, and really allowing the groups to function in a more autonomous and co-responsible manner, through collective intelligence and really working towards a common purpose, but while maintaining their individual opinions and projects as well. So we're looking at this as also a platform to really expand on it and see how can also we support this, how can it go beyond the farmers and how can it go just beyond what we're needing, which is food, because obviously there are also other needs that come up besides food itself and health. There are too many other needs, like for example, kids need to go to school and all this other stuff. They need to wear clothes. So of course, there's other needs that obviously we are not addressing here. So this would come up in this community circles. To go to the next slide. So to go to the next slide, I would like to invite Joram here because I would really love to hear Joram talk about this into what the co-created spaces, existing co-created spaces are, but also to talk about what he's doing within his community as a smallholder farmer and what they have done so far with his community. Joram, would you mind coming in here? Thank you.
Yes, thank you once again for having me back. On these first pictures, you can see there's this village called Adagayela village. We have 4 circles. In each of these circles, these are like groups that we have, and these are meeting points. We can have like one center where each group or a circle would come and meet. Normally in each circle, we have all the circles will now have a total of 38 women. But for normal formation, these circles normally have between 15 to 20 members, but sometimes the number keeps fluctuating. And the age categories are normally young women and elderly women between 23 to 49 years. The second group category of Ojungo village, it's a similar thing. We have these are 3 groups with 1 meeting center. The total group number at the moment is 26 women, which these are age category 17 to 72 years. Then there's Ngeta village with 5 circles, 1 meeting center, 42 women in all these groups between the ages of 15 to 41 years. So these are spaces that these people use for them to discuss the various needs that would be important in their day-to-day lives as regards what they are doing in their individual groups of smallholder farmers. Please, next slide. This is a background of what the organization I co-founded, Initiative for Environmental Conservation and Agricultural Sustainability, are doing in our community. We are in this picture, we were having a group training in one of the villages in Lira district, where we were doing a VSLA training for members, because these are smallholder groups. You can see members, women, elderly. These are groups that they do saving after maybe selling their crops or commodity to the market. Every Friday they sit and they bring in whatever they have and put in a saving, so that at the end of the year they're able to give back this money to the owners, such that they are able to use it for a more fruitful work. The next slide. So from there, we have more other things that we are doing in our community. We are also building capacity of farmers to become resilient through training. One of them was VSLA training. And we're also introducing to them better farming approaches like backyard farming with crops such as watermelon, cabbages, onions, carrots, tomatoes, eggplants, which are highly demanded in our local markets. And we also think that that could increase their income and also stabilize the supply of these commodities in the market. We also introduce an alternative fertilizer called Mokona pruriens, in English that is velvet beans, whereby we are training these groups from a demo garden is set up, and at the end of it, each group is left to continue with the replication of the model, such that each of them is able to apply this option to their gardens versus using artificial fertilizer. This is an organic method of conserving the soil. Valved beans, maybe just a brief background on valved beans. It's a highly decomposing crop, which takes up to 1 year in the garden. It has nodules and it's capable of fixing vast amount of nitrogen into the soil. It forms a ground canopy, which helps it to suppress any emergence of weed in the garden, because most of our gardens are now affected by weed, and that increases the cost of farming, because every time you plant a crop, you have to keep going back to the garden to uproot, remove the weeds. So this crop has really helped our farmers to manage their gardens. It's also as a help in maintaining the soil moisture and water retention ability for any type of soil that we really tried this on. And farmers are really interested in going on with these valved beans in their gardens because of its cheap way, as opposed to artificial fertilizers. We have also established a tree nursery bed, which we use them to resupply indigenous tree species, which has been a very good example in the past in our communities. A good one I could mention in varieties that we are giving back to the community is shea nut and tamarind, which are they could give us a large shade, and those branches could be tapped into for people to cook, as opposed to today's kind of trees that we are having or planting, because of their nature of what it's intended to do, mostly to supply softwood. But these ones, most of them are hardwood, and they take long in the garden before it is cut down. So basically, that is what we are doing on the ground with the smallholder farmers in the various areas we are working on. Joy, please, can you take on the next slide?
Yes. Tobina, would you like to go back to the previous slide of expansion? Thank you. So I would like to also talk about this. We don't see this as something which is limited to Uganda, because we do have through the Cess for Food project, we do have what we call link pins. And link pins, these I would say farmers who are located in the various communities. And so what their role is to identify smallholder farmers in those locations and really work with them and really bring them into attention, because as I said earlier, many of the support that is out there is only showcasing larger farms and really excluding smallholder farmers, and they become really invisible. So this thinking is to really hand down those farmers. So that's so we intend to also expand this to other countries where we already have linking, for example, in Benin, Ghana, Kenya, and Tanzania as well. And then to the next slide. So here in the next slide, just to also give you an idea of who are the people that we're working with. So obviously you see here the Wyss Academy, we got funding from them, but then also the Cess for Food as well as our collaborators, and also because this is also a project of the Wellbeing Economy Alliance East African Hub, and also together with Spirited at Work. And Spirited at Work, they really help us with really providing coaching services to the women, as most of the women are struggle with various traumatic experiences. So this is something that really provides support in for the women, even through the NBC classes as well. And then to the next slide. So this is our team, me right there, and then Rachel, who is a LinkedIn, and then Moni, who has she's a method coach and then method practitioner, again a medicine counselor as well. And then we have Joram and there, who we've been talking to, and he's a social entrepreneur working with Smallholder Farmers. So that's our small team of 4, but of course there's other collaborators and people with the farmers themselves that we work with. And then to the next slide. Yeah, so as you've heard me speak, we do, and for this particular project, we do have a business model, and that is we use these NVC sessions as a way to also, we do offer this NVC, courses and conscious leadership as we're using it to be able to fund to really build this, to really build this project. And we're looking for collaborators also with experience in natural medicinal plants to work with us. So those would be willing also, to have, give us all the resources that you have on regenerative farming. But also we need also customers to sign up for our, NVC classes. And this is something that I can follow up with if this is of interest, and also to learn more about what those classes look like. And yeah, so that's what we need really at the moment, to have, people, collaborators help us with natural medicine farming, but also regenerative farming experiences, but also those to sign up for NVC sessions as a way of really sustaining this project itself. And yeah, so thanks for listening, and also thanks to Bila for sharing the slides. So if you have any questions or anything that comes up, yeah.
Well, let me say, Suzan and Joram, thank you so much for everything that you have shared. It's really impressive to hear from all of you, to learn in detail what is actually happening, what you're going to be putting in place, how you have designed the whole project, and how you're going to be collaborating and basing the result and the solutions of this in collaboration. So it's really impressive, and I just want to say thank you for giving us this insight and all this information. And as Suzan was just saying as well, this is the opportunity for any person here in the room who would like to ask them any questions or share about their own experiences as well, or if there is an opportunity for that collaboration for those needs that they have and to contribute to this project, please feel free to raise your hand or open your mic, and let's have a conversation together.
I do also have a contact form here. Maybe I can paste that in the chat.
Yes, that would be wonderful.
For those who like to follow up, this is something that I may see if I can do that.
You
in
can
the chat.
add it to the chat. I have it, and I'm going to be adding it to the follow-up email that I will do with the recording of this session. But if you can put it in the chat now, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions or ideas or thoughts? I have a question, if I'm allowed to ask.
Yes.
Suzan and Joram, is for both of you, I'm not sure. So listening to, especially Joram, when he was talking about the problems that you're facing, it is very obvious that is the system, because you were talking of agriculture, but then you were talking about mental health, you were talking about education, you were talking about so many different things. And for me, that is looking in a holistic way to the whole system. I know that within that project that you got funded for, there's no any specific area that is going to be trying to influence, maybe at a policy level, on how to do things different, and that it could help in all those different areas. I don't know if you are in conversations or there are people that you have met already through this time that you've been working for the WEAll East Africa Hub. Is there a way to involve policymakers in these conversations and for them to start being aware of what you're trying to achieve, for them to influence at that level? Is there any connections there, or is there have any conversations happen around it?
Yes, thanks Anna for that. Actually, at the moment, I'm actually seated at the Sexual Reproductive Health Rights Alliance office, and they do a lot of work around advocacy and lobbying. And this is something that I also brought up into their attention, because they also work a lot with women, and also so this fits really well within what they are doing, and also with one of their consultant partners with restless development as well. And so this, I would say, this is something that they would really be offering their support in, because I think they really help in bringing this in a more wider policy making space. So I would say, I think we're now beginning to tap into that. before not, but now I think there is, yeah. So, and also this is something that I would say it is also an ask from me, is if you have any maybe contacts or organizations or people that will really also influence and help us in influencing this, that would be great. Yeah.
Thank you, Suzan.
Yeah.
And I have another question. I don't see any hands raising, so sorry for that. But please feel free. Obviously, if anybody can contribute or share if they are aware of any other projects that are happening that are related or similar. But I know that this one in particular that you're going to be putting in place is going to happen in Lira, is the name of the village, right, or the town, or you were talking about 3 different ones, but then I do remember us talking about Lira. So it's Uganda anyway. My question is there similar initiatives or activities in other countries within this area that you were mentioning, East Africa, that you are connecting already or trying to mobilize and bring these ideas to as well? Because you were talking about the expansion, but I don't know if that is already happening, or just for me to get a little bit more.
So with the expansion, that is, I would say we are still at the beginning stages of that yet, because the issue of like really, because the thing that I've also seen is that with this kind of work, there needs to be some level of also, because everyone is volunteering and people are really just committing their time to this. So we as I said, we do have already linking pins in other countries. So I would say it's already happening in those other countries like Ghana and Nigeria, but it's more like just farmers really interacting with one another. So we haven't yet put like some kind of a title, like say, okay, now that's another transdisciplinary living lab or whatever. Not yet, but it's more like we're already having these existing spaces, and our goal is to work with the already existing spaces that are already there in those places as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Leo has his hand up.
Sorry?
Leo, please, I'm like, sorry, I think I'm making my mistake. Leo, if you could unmute yourself, feel free to.
I did.
Okay.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the presenters. It was a very nice presentation, and I think it's a very good example of how to work at grassroots level, trying to improve the living conditions in general. We are talking about a holistic approach of people. And I think, I don't know if somebody of you was connected with Rome over the last couple of 3 days. There was this UN summit, Food System Summit, +2. The first one was in 21, and now we did the update. And I think what we are talking about here in Uganda is something that is on the worldwide agenda. there was this big meeting in Rome with the FAO, the World Food Program, the UN Secretariat, everybody was there, Gutierrez was there as well. So it was quite a big happening. And I think that's where you should try perhaps to link up with what is happening in Uganda, try to see a bit with either the FAO or the Ministry of Agriculture or any other big organization, might even be private sector because they were there as well, to see what is happening in Uganda and how can you share your knowledge and your experiences to help others also to improve and perhaps to learn from others again. I was very surprised that in the presentation you were talking about this saving groups, and I was happy to not hear credit or loans, because that's something that's a trap for many people. Once you start borrowing money, you need to pay back and you need to pay interest, and then you go from one to the other. So I think savings is the right thing to do. And then you have a kind of insurance in case you get ill and you need medical care, you can go to the savings. And that's very important. It's a kind of insurance. Yeah. No, I was very, very happy to listen and to learn from what is happening in Uganda. And I know Uganda is quite an dynamic country because there are so many people coming in. It's one of the countries hosting so many refugees and IDPs. So yes, it's very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you for everything you have shared. And just out of curiosity, where are you joining us from?
On a button to activate. Press spacebar. Zoom meeting. Audio.
Sorry about that.
Right now, I am connecting from the Netherlands. I'm in between contracts. I've been working all over Africa, but also in Afghanistan, also in Nepal, in Haiti, etc., over the past 30 years. So
wow.
I know a little bit about the work at grassroots level in the different countries, in the different contexts.
Well, I'm positive that Suzan could benefit as well from continuing the conversation with you for all these inputs that you have shared. So it would be fantastic if maybe you want to share with her or fill out the form that she put on the chat. I think they all will benefit from having further conversations with you.
Yes, Leo, I would. I'm like really curious because please. Thank you for that. And I'm also seeing in the chat from Patel, I'm not aware of this group, so thanks for sharing that in the chat. I'll follow up with them.
That's wonderful. Tobile.
Cool. I just loved your presentation, as I've mentioned already. So thank you so much to the both of you. Really interesting as well. I wanted to quickly ask maybe two things, but the first one was this relationship. Well, what is the response to going back to natural medicine? Because I think obviously there's been a lot of westernization and it's different between urban and rural communities. I'm speaking from a South African context, but there's like an understanding and obviously connection, and especially in rural areas around natural medicine. But there's definitely barriers and kind of misconceptions around, Western medicine being better. And a lot of barriers, especially in clinics or government clinics. So I was wondering, what are the relationships and the feedback, especially from like city official clinics and you promoting natural medicine? What are like some of the responses and reactions that you're getting and maybe challenges? So let's start with that one.
Tobile, thanks for bringing that up. This was, if you had asked me that, like some, I don't know, maybe 15 years back, I would say, it's pretty negative because usually when it comes to herbal natural medicine, they're usually associated with voodoo or some kind of witchcraft. So, but now of recent, that is drastically changing. And actually, many of the products that are using natural plants are even much more expensive than the actual modern medicine, because there is market for it, and we have more and more people really taking this natural medicine. So someone goes and mixes up different plants, packages it well, and puts it in a really nice package, and then really sells it expensively. So people know the value in this, and they really want that. But those who have the knowledge in these natural medicines are also selfish with that knowledge, because they want to monopolize the industry itself. So what this project wants to do is to actually make that knowledge easily accessible, make it public, make it more accessible, so everyone has the knowledge, and so they can actually make this concoction themselves, and also learn how to prescribe this as well, because they don't want to have cases of overdose or whatever it is. So that's why we really want to work with certified practitioners as well. So we want to make it more accessible and also less cheaper as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Very exciting. The other question is maybe more on that when you spoke about monopolizing. I'm just interested in terms of your, like, how do you discern collaborations, right? Because definitely wanting to collaborate, but also knowing that there's this extractive kind of approach in terms of land use and people then coming and capitalizing on the land that you built. And we've just had a recent experience in Makers Valley where this lady's worked on a farm, an urban farm, for 15 years, and now government's taken over and she's been kicked out. And then the practices and every single thing that she put into it in terms of approach has just been, taken away. So I just wanted to hear like how you face and discern kind of collaborations and think about those collaborations to protect kind of what you're building.
Yeah. So I mean, this is why we are calling it transdisciplinary, because it can't just be focused in one thing. There's all these other intersection things that are cross-cutting, and you have to factor in intersectionality as well. Because if you're talking about farming, you can't miss to talk about land, and you can't miss to talk about land grabbing and all this other stuff. So there's so many things that fits into that. But and this is something that we are very much aware of, which is why and this is something that probably I forgot to mention, but also it has also become a need, because most of the farmers that we're working with are women, and women do not have as much access to land compared to male. And the males, in most cases, we are seeing many of them selling off pieces of land, buy motorbikes, whatever it is. So we also want to also do something around that, and that's why which is why these community circles are really important, because then we can really talk about these things that are really cross-cutting, and we can talk about, okay, so we obviously need land, so how are we going to secure the land that we need? That means that requires working with, let's say, lawyers, and working with other environmentalists that can really help us in how can we really also protect our land from, let's say, the government, or from just from neighbors just really being greedy and selfish and wanting the land, to be taken away. So there's like all these other issues that we really discuss about in this circles. So what you're asking, Tobile, it's something that comes up in these circles and in this meeting. So it's a continuous learning process, and I would say we don't really have all the answers, because we ourselves, we are also trying to learn in the process, which is why we created those community circles to really talk about these things. Yeah.
Thank you, Suzan. Thank you so much. I'm aware of the time. We have 2 minutes left, and I wanted to open the space just in case somebody else have a question or something they would like to share, or open the space as well this time left for Joram and Suzan to wrap up with last thought or sharing. So this is the opportunity.
Yeah. Unless Joram, do you have any last thoughts? Otherwise I want to say thank you so much, and please, I'm inviting you to fill up the contact form that I shared in the chat. That would be great. And also, yeah, my email is on the slide. Just send an email. And yeah, appreciate you being here, and yeah, just to listen and just be present with us. Yeah.
And we appreciate you, both of you, Suzan and Joram, truly. And I'm just gonna mention that apart from all of you who are in the room and the ones who have registered and who couldn't make it, if you think that anybody within your own communities and networks that you're part of, that they could contribute to that forum, that they could maybe be interested in this, once we follow up with the recording and the forum, please feel free to share and make sure that connections are made and more collaborations happen, because this is what it's all about, supporting each other's journeys, even if we are not that close, but being aware of what is happening around the world and how it's affecting people, and how we can contribute and can be good allies and supporters is important. So thank you, Suzan. Thank you, Joram. It's been a true pleasure. And thank you, everybody, for being here and participating. We'll see you next month for the next WEAll Local to Global. Stay tuned.
Yay.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.